Ma'am, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Gunika, you are audible. Shanu ma'am, there are some students who have faced some issues with installation of R yesterday. So we can start with their doubts today first, and then you can start with the part that is remaining.
Yeah, sure. Please
And
share.
then we can start with the course.
Okay. Yes, students, what kind of problem you are facing?
Good evening, ma'am.
Please convey.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sharing my screen. मैम कल जैसे आपका इंटरफेस आ रहा था ना वो मेरा नहीं आ रहा है मेरा कुछ नेटवर्क इशू था तो वो पार्ट मेरा मिस हो
Okay.
गया
What's your good name? Gonika?
गुनिका yes ma'am.
Gonika, actually, you are not working in R Studio, bete. Fine, it's R console only. Go for R Studio installation, and your rest of the windows are not coming.
No.
It's RGUI. Are you getting me?
Yes ma'am.
R console and R Studio are two different things.
Okay ma'am. मैं डाउनलोड
Please
कर
open the link which I told you in the presentation and install R Studio.
Okay ma'am.
Fine, beta. So then you will get that kind of window in which you are having 4 partitions.
Okay
And
ma'am.
R console will come below the code editor window. Okay. Any other student? Students, is there any other issue with installation? Okay. I believe everyone was able to download and install RStudio on your machines. So fine. So I'm sharing my screen. So is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So the today's session is scheduled for covering the data structures in R. So we will try to cover all data structures, and in case some part will be left, we will cover it in the next session. So in yesterday's session, we people have covered introduction to R programming, its installation, and some of the basic commands we have learned that you can do in R environment. So students, as we have seen that after installation of R console, you will get such kind of prompt on your screen. This greater than sign is basically R prompt, as we have seen yesterday, and we tried to, pass some commands in interactive mode. So in order to quit from the R working environment, you can pass the command quit or simply Q. Fine, students? So there was one query regarding installation of packages. I told you one command yesterday about installed.packages. So this is the command basically for checking out what are the different packages that has already been installed on your machine. So it will just display the list of packages we have seen. And in order to, install further, loading the packages, you will have to use the command library and within brackets the name of the package. Fine, students? I will show you further also how to go about packages. So there are 3 steps. First of all, you will just track that whether the package is already installed or not. In case if it is not installed, then you will have to download the package and then you will have to use the package. Fine, students. So from the R environment, if you will look for this, so you can easily go for that thing. So these are the different menus in RStudio. So you can create your new file from here and you can save the file. By default, the file format is .r. So kindly mute so that disturbance should not be there. Are you getting this option? Install packages?
Yes, ma'am.
So I told you yesterday also that you will have to, work out. So here it is asking you what is the, package name. So first of all, you will have to find out which package you want to install. So when you come to know that this package is missing or it is not already installed, so just go to tools menu, install packages, and by default repository has been selected here. So and then you will have to, pass the name of the package and then click on install. Fine, students? This is the way through, you can say, menu option from tools. Otherwise, I have showed you means how to go about further. So first thing is to install the package. So after checking that if the package is not installed, then that package can be installed easily from here. Click on install. Fine, students? So when we will need some package, we will follow this procedure and then you will have to pass on the command that I have just showed you. I hope you have observed this command. Just note down library within brackets package. So this is the third step that you need to do. First of all, identify whether the package is installed or not. Then you install the package through the tools menu option and then you can just use the command library and that package name. So this is the way how we go about. So let us see if this command works. So yesterday we have seen that these are the different operators that you can check. We have applied this caret operator, which is basically for calculating the exponent of something. The rest of the operators are similar to your other arithmetic operators like plus, minus, multiply, and division. Caret symbol for calculating the exponent, and we have seen the percentage to double percentage mark. So this is basically for calculating the remainder after the division. Fine, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And rest is your relational operators. These are also common things. So in R programming also, if you want to construct some conditions, yesterday we have seen one example of if control statement. So if you want to put some relational operator, you can make use of any of the operator out of this: less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to, double, equals to, and not equal to. Fine, student? Then your logical operators in R. So sometimes we need to make use of logical operators also. We will see while the demo some of them. This is for logical not. Ampersand sign is for element wise logical AND operation, and the double ampersand symbol is for logical AND. And this vertical pipe like symbol is for element wise logical OR operation, and this double pipe symbol is for logical OR. So usually when we perform any kind of mathematical computation, so either we need arithmetic operations. While taking any decision, we make use of relational operators, and for combining some conditions, we also make use of logical operators. So in R also you can perform, and these are the common arithmetic mathematical sequences that you can simply make use of either on the R prompt, or you can also put it in your script. So as in other programming languages, you will have to take care of parentheses also. So the simple BODMAS rule we are following here. And I hope you can see over here that in other programming languages also we have some constant values. So you have heard of pi constant. So if you will just pass the name of the constant, it will show before you the value of the same. So you can check this command here. So basically, it's not a user-defined variable, it's a constant. Fine, students? So you can make use of this directly. If you want to compute, let's say, the area of a circle, and you know the radius, so pi into r caret 2. So that kind of thing you can compute. Similarly, just like other languages, as we have learned yesterday that R is supported with a lot of packages. So for mathematical aspects, you will find a lot of functions. So some of them I have shown here in this slide. Like if you want to compute the square root of something, so there is a function called sqrt. Fine, students? Similarly, absolute value of x can be computed. Factorial can be computed. You can make your own function, as well as there is a already existing factorial function. So you need to pass only the value of that. So you can check it out. Fine, students? So there is no need to write your own code. So this is the main advantage why people are using R and Python like languages. So they are having support of lot of inbuilt functions. So you just need to know the name of the function and pass the right kind of arguments to that. Similarly, if you want to compute log, so you can put the first argument as the number of whose log you want to compute, and the second argument is base. Base equals to 2 if it is a binary log, okay? And if it is having some other natural log, so you can define a log 10 of that particular number. Fine, students? I hope you can understand the different, these options. This either you follow this log x comma base equals to 2. Fine, student. So actually, I am computing here log of 4 and log to the base is 2. Another is this way. Fine, students. So along with log, I have mentioned this. And similarly, you can compute natural log also. Fine, students. So is this point to all of you? How to go for different, different ways to compute the log? Either you follow the first approach, which we have just used. I hope all of you can see the screen. In the first method, what I did, if you have any number, let's say x is equal to 5. So I can simply make use of log x, comma, base equals to 5. Fine, students. So for any number in journal, you can compute its log, or you can mention the base along with the log. Log 2 or log 10 means binary log, and this is natural log. And within parentheses, you specify the number. Similarly, yesterday we have seen one, you can compute the power by using the caret symbol. X raised to power 2 means x caret 2. X raised to power 3 means x caret 3. Similarly, if you want to compute the exponent of something, e raised to power, so you can just make use of this function. Cosine, sine, tangent, all these functions are already existing and you just need to put the value. Fine, student. Similarly, sine of a particular thing, 45 into pi by 180. So you need to just make use of the correct function. Now I'm going to tell you the use of scan command for, entering the data. So like here, data 3 equals to scan. So it is basically a kind of prompt to the user to enter something. As I entered here 12. Fine, students. So once you have decided that you want to enter, let's say 3 numbers, so just keep on entering and at the end you just enter blank. So in this manner, it has entered the 3 numbers and now you can check it out whether they have been entered or not. So these are the values in the data 3 variable which we have just entered. Is it clear to all of you how we did it? One way is to just assign the value. Another way is to ask the user to enter the values. So by using the scan command, you can just ask the user to enter the values. So let us start with the data structures part. As I have shared with you people that in addition to the variables, simple variables, you may need some kind of structures which allows you to store your data that is consisted of more than one values. So could you please share with me which data structure we have covered yesterday? Yes, students. So we covered vectors. So we will come to know now what kind of data structure it was and what kind of values it allows. So for any programming language, you require other than variables, some data structures to store more than one value. So based upon the data type, the operating system actually, allocates the memory and decides what can be stored in the reserved memory. So let's say if it is a list, so particular type of data can be stored in that. If it is a array and that too is a numeric vector, suppose, or numeric array, so only that kind of values can be put into it. So you will have to jot down what kind of data structure you are using. Accordingly, the memory will be allocated, and on that basis only you will have to put the data also. So in R, you can have some common type of data types that we usually make use of, like numbers, which R calls as numeric values. For text, we make use of character values. Similarly, we have seen the use of Boolean values also. I hope you remember the example where we tried to store the Boolean values, true, false. Fine, students. So you can go for numeric numbers, you can go for text data, you can also go for Boolean values. So now data structures are acting like just containers to store and retrieve data. So could you please share with me? I hope all of you have read about data structures as one of the subjects at BTech level. Are you all in the same semester or of different semester students? Yes, students? Currently, in which semester you are studying? Am I audible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
So,
all of them are
Yes,
from
ma'am.
different semesters.
okay, you are from different semesters. So have you covered the, data structure subject, maybe using C, C++, depending upon current syllabus?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you have not heard of data structures part? So data structures allows you to perform certain basic operations, whether it is stacks, queues, graphs, or trees. There are lot many type of data structures. You can think of it as a backbone of data management system. So if you are aware of data structures, that you can then you can understand the pros and cons of data structures, what kind of complexity it allows you. Suppose you have very simple data of same kind, so you should know before you store data that what kind of storage structure will be preferable one. So that's why you need to go through some of the theoretical aspects of data structures if you are not aware of. So broadly, we can say it allows you to store your data. Fine, students? And the kind of data may vary. So first of all, you can store the data in the data structure. Secondly, you can traverse the data structure and you can look for some values in that. And you can also perform some kind of operations like, some kind of data manipulation you can perform. So usually we say that creation, deletion, updation, and searching. These are the four major operations that are required usually, that we should be able to store our data, we should be able to update our data, and we should be able to add or delete the data. And if you require to search or access the elements, then you should know how to process that particular data structure. So I have shared yesterday also that we can have different type of data structures in R, like vectors, matrices, arrays, list, data frames, factors. So these are the commonly used data structures in R. So in order to make use of data structures, we need to understand this bifurcation among the data structures. So I have shown here this, classification. So I hope you people understand homogeneous and heterogeneous aspects. Yes, students, please convey.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
understand homogeneous and heterogeneous concept in data structures or with respect to data?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about others? Only one. I just got one response. So what about others?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, fine. So if you understand the concept of homogeneous and heterogeneous, so broadly homogeneous means same kind of data values, which are of the same data type. And heterogeneous means when I have mix of different kind of data types. So first of all, as we have covered vectors yesterday, so it is mentioned here that it is homogeneous. So can you please give your response in this regard? Why we called it homogeneous? On the basis of yesterday's session.
Like we stored only in at a time we stored only the characters or the numeric values in the vector.
Fine. So yesterday we have seen that in order to store numeric values, we used numeric vectors. In order to store some character values, we used character array vectors. And similarly, if we are having some kind of Boolean values, so there was an option for logical vectors. So one more aspect is there that is based upon dimension. So vector allows you to store your data in one dimension. So just like arrays, because all of you understand the concept of arrays. So it is just like arrays which allows you to enter your values of same data type that is one dimensional. The next one is matrix. Matrix is again homogeneous because it allows you to store data of the same type. So it can be expressed in two dimensions, like along x-axis and y-axis. So along x and y-axis means it is basically in the form of rows and columns. So in your maths background, you have heard of matrices and different kind of operations that you can perform on matrices. So that can be done using the matrix data structure in R. And then next one is list. So list allows you to enter the values that are of mixed kind. Say, for example, I want to save the roll number, name, and address of the student. Fine, student. So roll number can be numeric, and further, name and address can be string type. So it is a collection of three values, data for each student, and it is of more than one type. So for this kind of data, vectors are not suitable. Suppose I just want to save the phone numbers of all the students. So then vector can also be used. But if I want to save name along with phone number, then you will have to make use of list. Again, it is of one dimension. Then comes array. Array is also homogeneous data structure, and you can make use of one as well as two dimension. Data frames are there. So all of you are now aware of that R supports different kind of data files. It can be CSV, it can be Excel file, and it can also be text. So usually when we are having some data in the form of rows and columns in Excel or CSV file, so we will have to utilize the concept of data frames, which allows you to access your particular rows and columns out of that. So sometimes in order to perform some kind of data transactions or data transformations, I don't require the complete file. Suppose I just need 10 rows out of the thousands available, and out of 1,000 rows, which is consisted of, let's say, 10 columns each, I just need any 5 columns. Fine, students? So you can create that view by making the use of data frames. So it is also there in Python, and the name is again same, data frames. Fine, students? So R allows you to extract some rows and columns from your file. So then you can perform some kind of operations or transactions on that data. Similarly, if it is a category based data, then we can make use of factors. So yesterday we have done with all this kind of stuff like character, logical, and numeric. This I have covered yesterday, so I'm going to skip this. In case if you have any query from that, you can ask. Fine, students? So we have seen this example of how to create a numeric, how to create a array numeric vector which is consisted of real values, how to create character vectors and logical. These all we have covered. So now new point over here is vector can also have a name attribute which allows one to refer to elements by name. Fine, students. Suppose I want to assign name to every data value in the vector. So suppose the first entry is 1 here, I am giving it a name A. The second entry is 3, I am giving it a name B. The third entry is 5, I am giving it a name C, and so on. So if you will pass this command names X, so it will just display before you the names. Name for the different values. Fine, students? Similarly, you can compute the length of a vector by passing the command length of X, and type of type of values in the vector can be identified using the type of command. So these are the some functions that you can perform. Similarly, I have explained yesterday class method also. By using the class function, you can again find out what kind of data values are stored. So here I have shown with respect to this above numeric vector, you can perform type of command on this and it will just tell you what kind of values are stored. Similarly, if you are having this, fine students. So you can just check it out because it is, different kind of values. So it will just show you character. So a character vector allows you to store this kind of values. So yesterday we haven't covered this thing. So this you can try out. So in order to create a vector using another method, first of all, what I am doing, I am just initializing a variable y with the command vector. And then I am specifying that this is another way. In first one, I have not mentioned the length. So another way can be vector and within brackets length equals to 2. Then just like arrays, you can initialize the values. Y of 1 is 4, Y of 2 is 6 and so on. In fact, it is not the effective way of doing so. The method that we did earlier yesterday, so that can be, more better choice in this regard because in the single command, you can just create the complete vector. Fine, students? So if you just want to see, you can do it. Fine, students. So by using this command, what I did, I have just created a y variable which is of vector type and its length is going to be 2. So now you can just put the values. Just like the array index value, you can give, this is the value for y2. Fine, students. Now I can see that what are the values stored. Is it okay with all of you? What is the difference? Because yesterday what we did like this. Fine, students. So these are the two different ways. Either you can follow this method directly by using, but don't forget to put this C in order to create a vector. So here I have used the vector method and in that you can specify your all elements after mentioning the length. Fine, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we have used the range. This also we have done yesterday, that by using the range function, we can create a vector. So there is one query on the basis of topic we covered yesterday. Suppose I'm having one vector u, I'm having one other vector v. In the first one, I'm having 3 elements, and in the second one, I'm having 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 9, right? So there are total 9 elements. So if you want to execute the operation u plus v, fine, students? So how it is going to behave? Just observe the output. Can you just see 10 plus 1 is 11, 10 plus, then 20 plus 2 is 22, 30 plus 3 is 33. Fine, students? So it is basically adding the corresponding elements. Now the elements in the first array are over, but in the second array still there are 6 elements left. So now what it will do? It will again start with the first element. 10 plus 4, 14, 20 plus 5, 25, 30 plus 6, 36. Fine, students. Again, the elements in the first one are over. Then again, it will start from the first. 10 plus 7, 17, 20 plus 8, 28, and 30 plus 9, 39. Fine, students. So if two vectors are of unequal length, the shorter one will be recycled in order to match the longer vector. Fine, students. So now my question is, please tell me, in case if it is the second vector is not having the elements, that is multiple of elements in the first one. Have you got my query? What I'm expecting from you? Yes, students, please convey.
Please repeat.
I want to perform addition operation. The first array is consisted of, let's say, 3, and the second array is, let's say, consisted of 10 elements. So what will be the outcome? Please tell me. In the example that I have shown you, the elements in the first vector is exactly, the elements in the second vector are multiples of elements in the first one in terms of number. So because in the first one it is having 3, in the second one it is having 9. So I can recycle, the use of the first array in order to perform the simple operation u plus v. Fine, students? So if I add, let's say, one more element, now it is not exact multiple. So again perform u plus v. Are you seeing the warning message, beta? Longer object length is not a multiple of shorter object length. Fine, students? So when we perform any kind of mathematical operation on vectors, so both the vectors should be of the same length. Fine, students? And if the elements in both of them are not equal, then at least one should be having elements that is multiple of the elements in the first array. So in this case, it is basically not multiple of the elements in the first one. In the first one, I am having 3, but in the second one, if it is 9 elements, then it will work fine. It will simply recycle the use of elements in the first vector. So once you will be having some number of elements that is not exact multiple of the shorter length vector, then it will just generate the warning message. Fine, students? Is this point clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So now there is one more point that is related to vector indexes. So vector values can be easily retrieved by using the index value that can be put inside the square brackets, just like arrays. So vector index are 1 based. So it means the first value is at index 1, then the second value is at index 2, and the third is at index 3, and so on. If the index is negative, it would strip the members whose position has the same absolute value as the negative index. Fine, students, just try to understand this. So I'm just taking the example above. So it means in case of vectors, both kind of indexes are allowed. So this is my character vector. Fine, students. So it is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want to see, you can simply check it out, length of S. Fine, students. So it is 5. Now I can just check it out at index 3. Fine, it is CC. But if I give -3, so what it did, it has removed the element at the third index, that is CC. So this is the difference. So make use of negative index appropriately. If it is needed, then only you should go for it. So if you are passing simple a positive index value, it will just retrieve the value at that index. And if you are putting minus with it, so it will simply eliminate the element at that position. Is it fine, students? Yes, students. Have you got the point? What is the difference in positive and negative index value?
Yes, ma'am.
So suppose I want to retrieve S10. So it will just float an error message that it is out of index. Because I have just checked that there is as such no element stored here after the 5th index. Fine, students, because the length is 5. So it will just show you it is not applicable in this case. Or index is out of range, you can say. if you are passing some index value that is not covered. The array length is only 5. So you will have to take care. So further, there is another syntax through which you can access the elements that are more than 1. So here the name of the numeric vector you will have to pass within square brackets C2, 4. Because if it is a matter of just fetching one single element, there is no need of putting like this. Fine, students? But if you want to retrieve more than one elements out of the array, so my query is please extract the second and third element out of the array, which is just shown on the screen. So could you please tell me here in the chat window, what will be the response in your case? Extract the second and third value. Can you tell me what command you will pass? S2, S3. I have just shown you the syntax. First of all, put the name of this and then use the syntax which we normally use for creating a vector. So here you need to put 2, 3. Fine, students? Fine. Is it fine, student? How we need to pass in the right manner in order to fetch the values? So in order to fetch the second and third value from the given numeric vector, you can pass it like this, as we normally create an array. So in this, you can mention which index values you want to fetch. So next example is x within square bracket C 2, -4. So now the point to remember here is you cannot mix positive and negative integers. So it is going to generate error message for you. It is feasible to give both the values, positive, like we have just tried above. So, but if you're trying to mix up these two things together, 2, -4. So this is going to generate the error message for you. Fine, students? So here, if you are by mistake giving 2.4 index value, so it will just truncate it and it will just take it as second and third index value. Fine, students? So you require to give here the integer values or whole numbers rather than giving here this kind of fractional values. Indexes are always going to be whole numbers. So now comes deletion of a vector. So if you want to delete a vector, you can assign a null to it and it will just make everything null. Earlier, let's say you are having all these values in the numeric vector. If you will assign null, so it is equivalent to deletion of a particular vector. Hi students, in order to delete a vector, just assign the null to it. So like here we are having fine students. So it has been deleted actually, that's why this error has come. Any query till now?
No, ma'am. So similarly, by using this scan command, you can even go for entering text values. Fine students. So for that, you will have to make use of this
syntax. So you can enter anything here. So in this manner, you can read some text data also in addition to numeric data. Now comes modification. So this slide is important. Suppose you are having all these elements in your vector. So if you want to update some data, so now you people know that how to access or retrieve the elements or values stored in the vector. So just put the name of the vector within square brackets, mention which index value you want to update, and then you assign the corresponding value. Fine, students? So suppose I am having this fine, students. So what is the error?
Ma'am, C should be small.
Good, good. So suppose now you wish to update the value here, 22. So 22 is basically at which index value? Yes, students? It is at which index?
3.
3. So x3 and then simply use assignment operator and put any value. So if you wish to again check it out, so it will just display. So there is next command in which we are passing some condition. So if the elements in the vector are less than 0, then update them with 5. So please check it out whether this command is working or not. Fine, students? Just check it out on some numeric vector whether this command is working or not. So none of you has raised a query. Madam, why earlier was not working? So could you please share with me now why the earlier output was different?
Ma'am, because you used smaller x
Variables are
earlier.
different.
Good, good. So I hope every one of you remember the case sensitive feature of our programming. So now when I updated the element stored at the third index with 11 value, so it will correctly display the output. Now the question here is, suppose all the numbers are mostly, multiple of 3, but 11 and 5 are not. So I wish that if it is not a multiple of 3, it should replace it with any static constant value. So you can just put the condition over here. Like we have put the condition, both the numbers are greater than 5. Let's say if I want to update like this, if x is greater than 5, then assign a particular value, let's say. Fine, students? So I have put the condition that if the value of x is greater than 5, then update it with 0. So it will just traverse the data structure. It will find out the values at every index, and then it will just update only those values where it has found that the value of x is greater than 5. So there were how many values? 11 and 12. Those were greater than 5. So it will update those two values. Fine, students. So in this manner, we have seen that we can create a vector, we can delete a vector, we can update a vector. Fine, students. So I hope all these operations are clear to you. Creation, deletion, updation, and traversing the data structure.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you go ahead, there is a subject with the name algorithm complexity, algorithm designing, and algorithm complexity analysis. So that's why data structures is a very essential concept in any programming language, because the overall time of execution of any program can vary by choosing the effective data structures. Fine, students. So if the same thing you have implemented using arrays and the same thing you have implemented using some other data structure, so definitely it is going to put a difference in terms of execution time. So once you understand the concepts of different kind of data structures, you can create a comparison between them. So now this is a command to in order to find out what is the current working directory. Sometimes you want to know what is the current working directory. So GETWD, get working directory. So you can check it out on your machine which one is the current working directory. Fine, students. Similarly, you can explore the different files into that if needed. So it is by using the command, otherwise not needed. So yesterday we have seen the use of for loop and if else. So we have also identified that how next command plays its role. So in order to skip certain values or if you want to continue further with the next operation, then you can make use of all these commands like next. In order to return some value, you can make use of return command. In order to exit abruptly, you can make use of break command. And similarly, in order to repeat certain things, repeating the iteration, so you can go for repeat command. And just like C and C++, we do have while loop. Fine, students? So those who are, not new to these programming languages, so they are aware of all these programming concepts, and the same can be done using R. So yesterday we have covered for loop, and now the next one is the repeat command. So here you can see here that we are making use of repeat and break. So I hope all of you can see here that I'm using this hash symbol. So hash is basically for giving the comments within your R programming. So these lines are just for providing the additional information to the viewer of your program. So they can easily get to know that what kind of objective is there to write this code. So you can go for this repeat within curly brackets. I want to convey that if value minus expectation is less than equal to threshold value, then break. So it is some kind of coding where value is having some value for this, and expectation variable is also having some value, and if their difference is less than equal to threshold, then simply break. So basically the concept of break is to exit from this. So then it will just break from this loop. So if needed, then only you should make use of this. Similarly, here it is a while loop. I have assigned the value 1 to it, 1 to the variable I, while I is less than 10, and keep on repeating the value, print I, and then increment it. So if you want to execute, you can just check it out, the execution of this code. It is your while loop, just like other loops. Fine, students? Are you able to see the output of this loop? So as the number of lines were more than one, so I preferred writing it in the script window. So I is assigned with the value 1, while the value of I is less than 10, curly bracket, and then you put the statements within this. There is no requirement for any kind of semicolon at the end. Increment the value of I and keep on repeating this till the value of I is less than 10. So accordingly, it has displayed the values from 1 and then it has continued up to 9. So I hope these loops concept is clear to all of you. Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So give me a minute. Let me check it out. The another file that we are going to cover. So kindly tell if my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
the next data structure that we are going to cover is about matrices. Fine, students. So as we know that matrix allows us to store the data in 2 dimensions. So you can express the same in the form of rows and columns, and you can put the different values in the form of matrix. So the basic, you can say the syntax for this is provided here. So x is the variable to which I am going to assign the values in the matrix. and then matrix is the method, and here you need to mention the different values in your matrix, and then mention the two arguments n row and n column. Fine, students, just try with me this command. Fine, students. So just look at the syntax of this. It is all a kind of vector that we just covered few minutes before. So there are in total 6 values in this. So I want to divide these 6 values in the form of 2 rows and 3 columns. So it will just start with the first value and it will put it in the first row. Fine, students. So there are 3 columns. So 3 entries in the sequence will go to this. So it all depends upon how you want to create. So here it is taking as the first column, then second column, and then the third column. Fine, students? So the data is organized in this manner. So this you can say that it is a column-wise matrix creation. Fine, students? And if you want to put it in the form of, you can say row-wise. So there is one more argument. So after specifying the number of rows and columns, there is a attribute with the name by row. Fine, students. So just put it here and assign the value true. Now you try to check it out, what it is showing you. Is the difference clear to all of you? How we created the matrix and how we, specified the column wise and row wise concept. So in the first method, when we tried to create the two-dimensional matrix, I didn't mention any by row argument. So by default, it has created it in columnar fashion. So all the entries in the form of this structure, this is basically the dimension of the matrix. So it will just take the elements like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you want to convert this to a row based rather than column wise, row wise matrix. So row wise means there are going to be 2 rows and 3 values in each row. So it will just take up the starting 3 values in the first row and the next 3 values in the next row. So please convey if both these syntax are clear to you.
Yes, ma'am.
What about other students? If you want to try, you can try this command. Fine, students. Just check it out. Is it working on your machine? So next example is how to create a matrix with the values that are recycled. Fine, students. This concept we have observed in case of numeric vectors also when I was trying to add the two vectors together. So when we find a difference in number of elements in two different vectors, so position wise addition will be going to use the elements in the cycle manner. So the elements will be repeated. So the similar way matrix can also be created by recycling the elements. So here you can see that I have mentioned only single one element and I want to create a matrix of 5 cross 5 because number of rows and column are same here. So it means 25 values in the matrix will be same. One will be repeated. So if you want to change here, you can change some other value also. Fine, students. Is it clear to all of you what you are trying to do? Just we are using one single element and we have created the complete matrix. So the element will be repeated for all the rows and for all the columns. Is it clear to all of you? Yes, students. If any query, you can ask.
No, ma'am, no query.
So now the next syntax is here by using the syntax that is based upon range. So you will have to make use of either the numeric vector by using the C command, okay? Either you use that or you can specify the range also. Like here, I have mentioned that elements of the matrix will be taken from the range 1 to 9 and number of rows will be 3, number of columns will be 3 and the matrix creation should be row wise by row equals to true. So all these values from 1 to 9 will be taken like this. Fine, students? So how many ways we have created? The first method, when I just gave all the values of the matrix in the form of numeric vector using the C command. The second method was when I made use of the single element to replicate. And the third method is you can specify some range that elements of the matrix should be from this range. Fine, students? So just check it out if you will try to, increase the dimensions of the matrix. So I hope you can observe the error message. So it has shown that data length 9 is not a sub multiple of the number of rows. Fine, students? The length of this is not basically a multiple of number of rows. So that's why it has created an error message. So by putting number of rows 4, number of columns 4, it means how many entries we are expecting? Yes, students, please put in the chat window. So what should be the exact syntax over here so that it should not generate this error message? Fine, students. So length is 16 as per the requirement. So the values that we are going to use should also be sub multiple of this, or if I modify this statement rather than 1 to 9, if I use here something like this, so will it work or not? Yes, students, try to observe both the examples. I haven't given the range 1 to 16. That is okay. You can specify exactly the same number of range elements as your dimension of the matrix is. So you can use the recycling concept here also, just like the earlier example. I have mentioned that range of the elements is going to be from 1 to 4 and number of entries in the matrix are 16. So if my range is sub multiple of total dimension of the matrix, then also it will work. Can you see the output here? By using the 4 elements, it will just fill up the complete matrix. Yes, students, please convey. Is this now clear to all of you? Why in the earlier example it has generated error and now it has given the right output and no error is generated? Yes, students, please convey in the chat window. Is it fine now?
Yes, ma'am.
So means there is no need of complete 16 elements. Even if I'm giving 4, so by using 4, I can create 16 values by recycling. So you should remember this concept of recycling as and when it is useful for you. So now the next concept we will learn after creation. Now next concept is how to access the elements in the matrix. So just try to fetch any value just like in a 2-dimensional array. So if you want to extract second row, third value. Fine, students? Actually, these are the elements in my matrix, and I want to retrieve the second row, third element. So second row is having 4, 5, 6, and the third element is 6. So just similar to your two-dimensional arrays, matrix works. Fine, students? So here you can simply fetch your element from the matrix by putting two arguments. You will have to mention what is the row number and what is the column number. Now, next is if I put like this, fine, student. So this syntax is to be used when you want to display all the rows but column 2. Just observe the output. 2, 5, and 8 are the elements of column 2. No doubt it will be displayed in the form of numeric vector, just like a one-dimensional vector. But these are basically the elements of the second column. So I didn't mention before comma any row number. Fine, students? So I just mentioned the column number. So another can be, I am mentioning here the row number, but I am not giving any column number. So just observe now. A2 comma. So means second row and all the elements in that. I'm not mentioning any column. So either you mention row number as well as column number, or you just mention the row number. There is no need for column if you want to display the complete or entire row. And if you want to put all elements in the display of a corresponding, a column. So you will have to mention the column number. It's explicitly, and you can skip the row. So all these three syntax are okay. It all depends upon your requirement to extract the elements. So if you want to, retrieve any specific element from the matrix, then mention either both the arguments. For row, you can mention the row number, and for column elements, you can mention the column number. So if I want to extract the elements in the third row, so how you will pass the command? Please type in the chat window. Fetch all the elements in the third row. And how to fetch all the elements in the first column? It was first column, so no props. Yogita, you can just replace 3 with 1. Fine. So I hope this part is clear to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
So try out if we want to fetch all the rows but column 2nd and 3. Yes, students? All the rows but columns 1 and 3. So just tell me what is the error here?
Ma'am,
Yes,
you
students,
used
what is
capital
the error
C.
here?
Ma'am, you used capital C.
C should be always in lowercase.
Fine. So what I did, I passed the command that I want to extract all the rows. So there is no need to mention any number. And then I put the values for the column numbers in the form of this C command. First column, comma, third column. So it has extracted like this. So you can extract more than one rows and more than one columns. Fine, students? So please pass the command for extracting the first and the second columns. How you will fetch that? How to extract the first and the second columns? So fine, let us move further. So I hope all of you have heard of transpose of a matrix. So for computing the transpose, so right now we are having this matrix with us. So we will calculate using this matrix only. This is a command T and put the name of the matrix and enter. So how the data is changed? Yes, who will convey what is the transpose of a matrix? Yes, students. What is the meaning of transpose of a matrix?
And rows are exchanged as the columns, like first row will
Fine.
become the first column.
Fine. So the same we did here. We have transposed the given matrix A by passing the command T of A. Now comes the next command, that is dim command. It is used for dimension. So the dimension of the current matrix that we are using is 3 cross 3. So in order to check it out, what is the dimension, you can pass the command dim and within parentheses the name of the matrix. So the next is suppose we are having this vector, and if you want to create a single column matrix out of this, so you can just make use of this command as dot matrix using the above vector that we have mentioned. So it will just create a one column matrix. Fine, students. So you can try this out. Try this command. So it's better to use the lowercase so that it should not create problem. Fine, students. So we have just created a vector and now I want to, create a matrix out of this. So can you do it now? Make use of the command as dot matrix. So it is given here as dot matrix and put the name of the above vector here.
Fine, students. So I hope it is working for all of you, how you can create one column matrix out of the given vector. It is as dot matrix, not is dot matrix. Fine, students. As dot matrix. So next we are going to cover this command. A row or column can be added using rbind and cbind function. So suppose you are already having one given matrix and you bind one more column into it. Do it. So currently we are having 3 cross 3 matrix. So add one more. Add one more column into it. Fine, students? So the name of the matrix above is A. So I want to add this one more column. Is this clear to all of you? So it is C bind method. Similarly, you can have R bind. Try both the commands on your system. The command name is cbind for binding the column, additional column in the matrix. And for binding the additional row, you will have to pass rbind command. If you have done, then please tell me in the chat window. Yes, students, please convey me in the chat window if it is working for you. rbind and cbind method.
Yes, ma'am, it's working.
What about other students? Are you doing along with me or not working? Yes, please tell.
Working, ma'am.
What about rest of the students? I have received response from only one student, Gonika. What about others? Webhub. It return modified matrix. मैं थोड़ी देर में आती हूँ. आप अभी हो? आप कब तक हो? हाँ ठीक है. हैं? उनसे पूछ लो, पर हम चेक करके हैं, पूछ लो. हम उसको रख देंगे, थोड़ा टाइम लगा. क्या? अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, वो कवरिंग लेटर. So here also one more method is there in which you can simply specify the name of the matrix. Like here you can see here that we have generated one matrix by using the values in the range 1 to 6 and in the dimension 3 by 2. Fine, students. So I want to bind a column into this. So you can put over here. Before this we have created a one column matrix using this vector. So can you bind both this together? So we can even follow this approach. create separately two matrices and then join them. And how we want to join them? I want to join this first matrix as a column in the second one. Fine, students? So 7, 4, 2 will be added as one extra column. So C bind P comma X. So can you please reverse the sequence? X comma P. Try it out. My simple question was, can we reverse this? C bind P comma X. Instead of this, can I pass X comma P?
Yes, ma'am.
So what will be the outcome then? If we are
Columns
doing
will
P comma X, then the first matrix will be taken first and then the second will be added to it. And if we will reverse the sequence, it will first show 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6 and then it will add 7, 4, 2 at the end. Fine, students? So I hope this part is clear to all of you. Yes, students?
मैम जब हम सी बाइंड एंड आर बाइंड यूज कर रहे हैं तो वो आउटपुट अपडेटेड देता है, लेकिन जब मैं वही मैट्रिक्स दोबारा से करती हूँ ना तो वो अपडेटेड नहीं देता, वो पहले वाला का ही आउटपुट दे रहा है.
Because you are not assigning it to any variable. Have you assigned?
No, ma'am.
So
Okay, ma'am.
just simple fundamental of programming. You have done something temporarily, unless until you won't assign it further to any variable. So how it will show you the previous thing? So for the time being in interactive mode, it will show you the output with the C bind effect. But if you will not store, it will not show. Fine, student? So similarly, we can have arrays as another one of the important data structure in R. And arrays can also be used for one dimension as well as to store the data in 2 dimensions. Fine, students? So let us see. So I hope now you got the difference between the two. We did vectors and now we have covered, we are going to cover arrays. So arrays can be one dimensional as well as they can be two dimensional. So arrays can also be treated as vectors when it is a matter of one dimension only. And in R, you can create array using the array command. So please try this command on your machine. So it is basically for creating a two-dimensional. Fine, students? So just check it out. What is the output of this? So the array function creates two matrices, each of order 2 by 3. with 12 elements in total starting from 1 till 12. So you can see here the output. Fine, students. So by using the single command, I have created the 2 matrices. By using the values in this particular range 1 to 12. Dimension of each one will be 2 by 3. But the elements will be starting values, 6 values will be assigned to the first matrix, and then the second matrix is having the elements 7 onwards. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. And don't forget to assign it to some variable so that you can retrieve your modified output. So is it working for you? Yes, students? Are you able to create array of this way?
Yes, ma'am.
So next is how to find out the type and dimension of an array. So there is a command with the function is. So run this command is x. So similarly, you can find out dimension. What is the dimension of the array x? And for finding the type of the array, you can use the is function. So now these are some of the examples that you can try it out. So just try to extract the first row, second column of the second matrix. Fine, students? First row, second column of the second matrix. So you can see here that the assignment of things can be done in both ways. You can assign this modified thing to some variable, or you can put it in the left hand side also. So have you done it? Please convey in the chat window. So after creation of this array, which is basically going to create 2 matrices of the dimension 2 by 3. So we want to now retrieve some elements. So try these examples. So in order to see the element at this position of second matrix, so just pass this command. Check it out whether it is working for you or not. Yes, students, is it clear to all of you? Just as we did it in matrix. So the first argument is your row number, the second argument is your column number, and the third argument is the matrix number, means out of which matrix you want to retrieve. So first row, second column of the second matrix. So it is first row, second column is this 9 and 10, and the element in the second matrix at this position, first row, second column, is 9. Fine, students. And if I will convert this to first, please tell me if I do this, what is going to be the response?
3.
Good. So out of the first matrix, if you want to retrieve first row, second column element, then it will display 3. So similarly, you can perform, accessing the element or retrieval of the element from a particular position. So similarly, these are the various syntax, so like here I have not mentioned. So in order to see 1, 2th position elements from each of the matrix, so you can just remove the last argument. So if I remove the last, so what is going to be the response in this case? Yes, students. So from the first matrix, the element at position first row, second column is 3. And from the second matrix, it is 9. Is the output clear to all of you? Either you mention the matrix number, and if you are not giving, so from both the matrices, it has extracted the first row, second column element. Is it fine to all of you? So in the first matrix, the element at position first row, second column is 3. And in the second one, it is 9. So by passing the command that I have just shown you, x 1, 2, and I am leaving the third argument. So it will just put elements in both the matrices here in the output. Is it okay with all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
So let us see a few more examples. So let us suppose I want to extract like this. So tell me what is going to be the output. 1, comma.
2, 3, 7, 9, 11.
So basically 135 is what? Yes, students, 135 is what?
First
How you
row
are
of
going
first.
to interpret? It is the first row in the first matrix, and 7, 9, 11 is the elements in the second matrix. So I have just told what is going to be the row. So I have extracted rows from both of the matrices, but I haven't mentioned any column, and I haven't mentioned the matrix. So these, two one-dimensional vectors represents the elements of first row out of the first matrix and out of the second matrix. Fine, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So similarly, you can try different ways. So just need to understand. So please convey me what is the meaning of first argument, second argument, and third argument. First argument is always row number. Second argument is always column number. And third argument is out of which matrix you are expecting the element. Fine, students? So now we are going to see one more data structure, that is list. So list in R is an object that is consisted of ordered collection of objects, which are known as components. And it may contain different type of components. So in a list, you can have heterogeneous data. So in vectors and in matrices, we have covered the homogeneous kind of data storage. But by using list in R, you can also go ahead with storage of heterogeneous data. So let us see how to create list also. So I hope you can see this example. You can try with respect to you. Put your name. Any one of you can show me your output. Just replace the values in name, father's name, numbers in the subject. Number of subjects are 3. And subject marks I have mentioned in the form of array. vector, sorry. So this is the way how you can create. Just run it for your data. Fine, students? Just try this example. Replace the values in this list with your data. Put your name over here. So this is basically the name of the data value. The value is basically Rahul, but it is assigned to the name variable. Similarly, it is again the value is Anish Gupta, but it is assigned to father's name. So I'm just giving a name to every data value. So value is 3 and I'm giving it a name num underscore subjects. And these are the values in the form of a numeric vector and I am putting it in a name variable that is sub underscore marks. Is my screen not visible, Vaibhav? Vaibhav, are you able to see the command which we are just executing? In order to create a list with the names stu underscore list, student list. The name of the list is stu underscore list and you will have to make use of list. So for creating a matrix, the method name is matrix. For creating an array, the method name is array. And in order to create a list, it should be list method. So in list, you can pass any set of values which are heterogeneous in nature. Fine, students? Just give your output in the chat window. Tell me which command you have tried, how you have replaced the data. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to assign this list to another variable. Fine. So this is the list and we are going to assign this to, let's suppose, this variable. So can you fetch now individual components? I told you that all the data values in this list, like it is stu underscore list. So if you put here the value 1, so it will display the first component out of this. Similarly, it is now the second list and I'm going to put here the name of this component, that is name. Fine, students? So both ways you can retrieve the elements stored there in the list. Either you display by using the index value or you put like this, the name assigned to this component. Rahul is assigned to name variable. Similarly, Anish Gupta is assigned to father's name. So you can both ways extract the values. So if it is clear to you, please respond in the chat window.
So basically subject marks is my fourth component. So I will mention the number of the component, and within this component I am having 3 values. So if somebody asks you retrieve the marks of the third subject, so how you will pass the command? Currently it is displaying me the marks. Yes, display the marks in the fourth component.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, in the fourth attribute, that is the marks, why we are passing this one, like 4 at one position? Like according to
So yeah. So basically we are trying to extract the particular component values. So just there is one, it is fetching the entire. So just jot down how to remove that.
if I'm
I
passing,
hope you have understood the query. So it is currently accessing the complete.
yes, ma'am. If I'm only passing 4, then
Mm-hmm.
also it will show 70, 80, and 85.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what's the use of this first position we are passing after 4?
Just give me a minute.
Okay.
Actually, we were supposed to get the marks of the first. So, but it is not showing. So it's not fetching.
Ma'am, is it possible that it is considering it as a matrix and then the first row,
Uh,
second row, and then third row?
So I will check you after some time. There is some error in this because it is not able to fetch the exact position which we are trying to extract. Fine, student?
Okay, ma'am.
It's not working. Actually, the syntax was this only. So I will just check it out and come back to you with this. So actually we are trying to fetch the components in the list either by their index value or by using their name. So for other things it is working. So I hope it is working for rest of the values. Is it working for rest of the components?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now the left over, the data structure is now data frames, which I introduced you. So let me share with you the syntax of that. So we will cover briefly the introduction to that today, and tomorrow we will try to, cover it in more detail. So we are going to create a new data frame now in our language, and for that we are going to make use of, certain data. So I hope here it is visible to all of you. So for salary, I'm having this numeric vector. Similarly, for, some kind of date information, you can specify your information by using again a character vector.
but you will have to convert it into date type by using the method as.date. And then this is the name of the variable which I am going to create for data frame. You will have to pass the method data.frame and put the values of these variables. So in order to have employee, salary, and start date, I'm using this. Fine, students? So make use of these three variables in order to create this. So the first array is basically name of the employees, the second one is salary, and the third one is start date. So try it out. Are you able to do this? Name, salary, and start date. Or you can simply have employee and salary. First of all, create a vector for the employee names. How you will do it? Put your response in the chat window. I told you how to create array. So my first instruction is create a vector that is having names of the employees. Can you do it? Create a character vector for the names of the employees. Then create a numeric vector for salary of the employees. Data you can take randomly, any names. So just maintain the mapping. If you are taking 3 names, then put 3 salary values. And then just by using the method data.frame. Then by using data.frame method, you can convert it into data frame, as I did it here. So the method name is data.frame, and you can assign it to any variable. So just check it out here. I'm waiting for your responses in the chat window in the meantime. Yes, students, is it working for all of you? So you can see here that by passing the command data.frames, you can, form in the form of rows and columns, the data can be structured. So this is one kind of data structure which allows you to form this kind of data. And similarly, if you have some file, you can also extract some rows and columns using data.frames.
So next is you will have to learn how to retrieve some inbuilt data frames. So in R also you are having some inbuilt data frames on which you can work. So in order to display the data in any inbuilt data frame, this I haven't constructed. I have constructed my user defined data frame with the name emp.data underscore data, but empty cars is inbuilt data frame. You can just check it out on your machine. Are you able to view the data in the empty cars data frame?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
similarly, if you will pass the command head, it will fetch the top few rows. Fine, students, and by using the tail command from the bottom, it will fetch the rows in this data frame. So you can see here that the data fetched after the head command is how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Top 6 rows. Similarly, if you will pass the tail command, the bottom 6 rows will come. Fine, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So is it working for all of you? So fine, students. So I hope you are able to, correlate the difference between the different data structures. So could you please repeat with me the first data structure that we have covered? That was the vectors. So vectors allows you to create one-dimensional information and you can perform all the operations like addition, deletion, and traversal. Similarly, we did it in case of matrices, which is a two-dimensional data storage. Then similarly, we covered the third data structure, which was with the name arrays, and we have covered list also. And the last one that we have covered is data frames. Fine, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So data frame concept we will continue in further sessions also. So for the time being, we are just using one is user defined data frame. So for that, you will have to first create your data. It can be in the form of simple one-dimensional vectors, and then you can put their names in data.frame command. Fine, students. So it will just construct in the form of rows and columns. So you will have to put what is going to be your first column, second column, third column, and so on. And in order to modify, you will have to put the command edit and within parentheses the name of the data frame. And head and tail commands will work for your data frames in order to fetch the top rows or bottom few rows. So these kind of features are available in data frames in R. So in case if you have any query, you can ask. The last few minutes we can utilize for the query handling session. Yes, students?
No query, ma'am.
Hello.
So just try this set of commands which I am showing you on the screen. So first of all, we have created a data which is having some character values like east, west, different values are there. So from this, you just check it out, is dot factor, and within parentheses, the name of this data variable, that is data. And then apply the factor function on this. Just repeat this one and then try to print the factor data. Factor is just the classification of the data values in some categories. Are you getting my point? Factors are created using the factor function, and you can create or classify your data within this. So it will just identify the unique categories and display that the data in the given data value or data variable is of these three categories. Suppose you have a list of students from different cities, fine. So you can just identify the factors or the classifications available in your data set by using the factor methods. So just check it out, the above example. Data is a variable in which I have assigned this list of values. You can see here that the values are repeating. Suppose if I ask you, please tell me to which city you belong. And suppose the every entry is corresponding to one student. So you may find that many values will be Chandigarh only. First value is Chandigarh, second value is Chandigarh, maybe some other entries, let's say Shimla, and then say Delhi. So the collection of students that we are having data for are from different cities. So basically my aim is now to categorize that data and in order to identify the classes for that data. So let us suppose all the students are from either Chandigarh, Delhi or Shimla. So 3 cities. So it will just put before me as an output these 3 levels, that the data is categorized into 3 levels. Like here it is categorized into east, north and west. Fine, students. So when you will run this function is.factor, before applying the factor function, it will show you false. Just repeat in the same sequence. So when you will first put this function print is.factor in within parenthesis data, so it will show you false. The reason for this is till now I haven't applied the factor function to this. So when you will apply the factor function on this data, it will categorize the data into unique levels. So if now you will try to print this value of this variable factor underscore data, so it will just display before you that the levels available in the data are east, north and west. And again run the same function is.factor within parentheses this new variable factor underscore data. At this time it will show you true. Fine, students. So this is also one kind of data structure available in R programming, which can be named as factors. So factors are having the scope for representing your data in different levels. Yes, students, is it working for you?
Yes, ma'am.
So similarly, you can check that whether some component in your data frame is of factor type or not. Please see this example also. I'm having one variable with the name height. So I have saved some values for heights. Similarly, I'm having one variable with the name weight, and I'm having some set of values for this also. I'm having the information for gender of a person, So I am having some values. Now you can understand that this third variable, which is with the name gender, can have repeated values in categories, let's say male, female. Fine, students. So first task is I have created a data frame out of this. So how to create a data frame out of these three variables? Input underscore data is the name of the data frame, and I'm using data.frame method. I'm putting in the sequence height, weight, gender. It means the first column will be having values for height. The second column in data frame will be having all values for weights. And the third column will be having all values for gender information. So now I want to check, is my given this information for gender is of factor type? So the method for that is dot factor, parenthesis, put the name of the data frame, $sign, and then put the name of the variable within that. So only data corresponding to gender is of factor type. If you will put the same for height and weight, it will give you false value. Okay, students? So I'm giving you 2 minutes. Please check it out for this. Then we will wind up the session for today. So if this concept of factors is clear to you, please convey. So in a particular data frame also, you can check whether the particular component in your data frame is of this type or not. So students, are you doing it? And if you want to, display factors in any particular, variable, so you will have to just pass the instruction print name of the variable simply. So if it is of factor type, it will just display. So like I am having here one data frame with the name input underscore data $gender. So it will just display all the values of gender. Fine, students. So the above commands will be executed. The first, all this complete data is with respect to the first print command, input underscore data. So this is my complete data frame. Then I have checked is dot factor and within parentheses input underscore data $gender. So is my current this field gender in the input underscore data frame is of factor type? Yeah, it is true. So it is giving me true. Fine, students. And lastly, if you want to display all the levels, so just put the command print into input underscore data, which is the name of the data frame, $gender. Fine, students, because input underscore data is the name of the data frame. Out of this, I want to know the levels in the particular gender variable. So corresponding to gender, it has shown me that in total, I am having 2 levels, female and male. Is it clear to all of you? So, ma'am, are you there? Sakshi, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
So, ma'am, we have covered the scheduled topic for today. That was on data structures in R.
Okay, ma'am.
So,
Wind up the
can we
session,
take a
ma'am.
break? Yes, ma'am.
If you want, we can wind up the session or we can continue with it if the data structures and part is left, as per your choice.
From my side, it is over. So, if students wants to ask some query, they can move ahead or they can practice. I will send you the material.
Okay, ma'am.
So, they can ask me the queries before we start with the next session.
Okay, ma'am. The same we did
Yes, student.
today.
So I believe it will be better if students will practice at their own pace
Okay, ma'am.
from the material and they can note down their queries. And in case if they have some queries or something which they are unable to solve, then they can, ask. So that will be
Okay,
better.
ma'am.
Yes, students,
Fine, ma'am.
please convey.
If you have any query currently, you can ask. So I will share my presentation with you people and you can try the different commands that we covered in this session. So rest, it is, endless game. You can try several other commands and you can try by changing the command with certain variations. So you need to know the name of the function along with the arguments and what is their meaning. So if you understand the basic syntax, you know the meaning of the different arguments within that, then you can simply try out how to change the things. Fine, students? So still the house is open and if you have any queries, we can take it in the tomorrow's session before we start with the new topic. Okay, Sakshi ma'am. Then I'm winding up the session for today and I will send you the material. Students can practice from that.
Fine, ma'am. So we can wind up the session and the attendance link I'll share with you in your respective WhatsApp group. So participants, today your session will end over here only. I'll share the attendance link in your respective WhatsApp group only. Thank you, Shana ma'am. We are ending up the session then.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay.